You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button.
I got asked on Twitter or X by a listener say, Matt, can you do a video breaking down LSU's college football playoff chances? Sure, but it might last 10 seconds. Went out. All right, that was 1 second. That's way oversimplified. I get it. But that really is what it boils down to. It's more than likely that you're going to have an undefeated or one-loss Big Ten champion in Michigan or Ohio State. They're in. I think there's a really good chance that Florida State is either undefeated or one-loss champion coming out of the ACC, and they would be in. There's this feeling that the Pac-12 is going to cannibalize itself, and I tend to agree with that. We just saw Oregon lose a road game to Washington. And I know if you get down to it and you say, well, look, what if there's a one-loss Oregon and a two-loss LSU? Well, the scenario that we're spelling out here would involve a two-loss LSU team that won the SEC, however, and would have beaten undefeated and top-ranked Georgia in the SEC championship game. Unless if there are 4 unbeaten Power 5 conference champions. If Florida State, Michigan, Oklahoma, Washington are all undefeated conference champions, okay, they're in, and you've got no shot. I just don't believe that's going to happen. I mean, we could look, Oklahoma had a great win against Texas, and congrats to Brent Venables for getting Oklahoma back to relevance sooner than we thought after a sub-500 season a year ago. And they're 6-0. I also look at their schedule, and Texas is the only ranked team that they play. This week they've got Central Florida. Then they're at Kansas, at Oklahoma State. Bedlam is always tough, and that's on the road. They're home against West Virginia, at BYU, and then they play TCU. If you're undefeated and you're Oklahoma, you're in. You slip up anywhere, no dice. And that anywhere could be a rematch with Texas in the Big 12 championship game. Remember, there's no division, so just the top 2 teams in the Big 12 go play in the championship game. So that could be what faces Oklahoma. They could go 12-0, play Texas in a rematch in the Big 12 championship game, lose that, and guess what? You're out. All this to say, we saw this a year ago, y'all, that as the season went along and teams started to lose, LSU had got itself all the way back up into the top 10, and they were approaching 5. And if they had beaten Texas A&M and gone to Atlanta and beaten Georgia, LSU was going to get in. They were going to get in as a 2-loss team. But they didn't. They lost to A&M, then they lost to Georgia, so it was moot. All of the ancillary stuff around college football is irrelevant unless LSU wins out. If LSU wins out, meaning winning in Tuscaloosa and beating Georgia, an undefeated Georgia, in the SEC championship game, then we have this conversation. But unless that happens, it's not even worth having the conversation. But in the hypothetical, what you would need to do is just cheer for everybody to lose. You just don't want to have undefeated teams. You want to be able to create a case for LSU. And LSU can't create a case against undefeated conference champions. You can create a case against one-loss conference champions because you would be the conference champion of the SEC, and you would have wins against Bama on the road and Georgia and Atlanta in the SEC championship game. So while I am not sitting here telling you that is likely, as a matter of fact, I think it's more likely LSU loses twice than wins out. Let me say that again slowly. I'm not predicting that LSU is going to lose twice. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm saying it is more probable that LSU loses 2 games than it is they go undefeated the rest of the way, that they win out. I think LSU is going to beat Army. They're more than likely going to lose in Tuscaloosa. And I think they can win their final 3 games. All at home. Florida, Georgia State, and Texas A&M. I think A&M was maybe a little more of a concern a couple of weeks ago, but it's clear their offense is in the deep freeze, and they may unravel, especially if they go lose this weekend. So, I would love to think we're having this conversation by the third weekend or the second week in November. You know, when LSU is after they play Alabama, if they win that game and LSU's getting set to play Florida, I mean, brother, this is a real conversation. And that would be a lot of fun to have. But we are a long way away from that. But one thing I'll tell you I think is definitive. You know, LSU's going to win this week against Army, and then they're going to go play then they'll have an open date, excuse me. So LSU's going to play Army, then have an open date. By the time, like LSU right now is ranked 19th in the country. By the time LSU goes to Tuscaloosa, LSU's going to be in the top 15 because they're going to beat Army. They're going to have an open date. So over the next 2 weeks, while LSU is essentially off, other teams are going to play games and are going to lose. Look, USC and Utah are going to play this weekend. One of those teams is going to lose and drop below LSU in the rankings. Like, that's just how this is going to transpire. So, bide your time, be patient, but LSU's going to have a great opportunity. 2 weeks from Saturday when they go to Tuscaloosa. Take care of your business against Army, get healthy, go to Tuscaloosa, take your best swing. If you're still standing after that game in Tuscaloosa, now we have a real legitimate conversation about scenarios, what ifs, and what needs to happen for LSU to get into the playoff. But none of it matters unless LSU wins out. And that starts Saturday beating Army, and then 2 weeks from Saturday in Tuscaloosa.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.